You know, look, I didn't turn him down because I don't like him or I don't believe in his case. I think he's got a very...
Diddy's courtroom drama just took a shocking turn. One of his top defense lawyers suddenly quit, right in the middle of the case, after some explosive audio was played in court. And get this, it's not the first time a high-profile lawyer has walked away from Diddy's team. Whatever's going on behind the scenes seems serious enough to scare off even the best legal minds. So what's really happening here? Let's talk about the latest bombshell. Anthony Rico, one of Diddy's most experienced attorneys, officially stepped down just 3 months before trial. This is a huge deal. Diddy is facing major charges like sex trafficking, racketeering, and conspiracy. If he's found guilty, he could spend the rest of his life in prison. Now, who is Anthony Rico, and why does his exit matter so much? Rico isn't just any lawyer. He's handled some of the biggest federal cases in the country, including the World Trade Center bombing and the 1998 U.S. Embassy attacks. With decades of experience and a reputation for winning tough cases, Rico was a key part of Diddy's defense team. He joined right after Diddy was arrested in September 2024, working alongside another major attorney, Alexander Shapiro, who had once defended crypto figure Sam Bankman-Fried. Together, they joined forces with Diddy's lead lawyers, Mark Agnifilo and Tenny Garagos, forming a powerhouse legal team. But then, in February 2025, Rico suddenly filed a motion to withdraw. His statement didn't reveal much, just that Diddy needed to move forward without delays. That vague wording raised eyebrows. Was there a disagreement behind closed doors? Or did Rico learn something new that made him step away? Experts say it's possible Rico saw an ethical red flag, something he couldn't ignore. While no one knows for sure, this sudden departure adds even more mystery to a case that's already full of
is significant, and it's tough to know the reason why. It could be any number of possibilities. Sometimes it's when the lawyer hasn't been paid, but we know obviously Diddy doesn't have that problem. He's got plenty of money. It could be a disagreement regarding defense strategy. It could be a conflict. It could be a health issue. It really could be anything, and the paperwork doesn't identify it, nor should it.
What's really strange is that just before quitting, Anthony Rico seemed fully committed to defending Diddy. People inside the courtroom said Rico was constantly by Diddy's side, passing him notes, talking with him, and even giving him hugs during breaks. He even made it a point to remind the judge that Diddy's family had traveled a long way to be there, which made it seem like Rico was emotionally invested in the case. So why did he suddenly walk away? Former federal prosecutor Naama Rahmani offered a few possible explanations, and one theory really stood out.
Potentially, it could be a conflict with the client, right? A disagreement. They just don't get along. The communication is poor. They don't agree on defense strategy. It could be a conflict with one of the other lawyers. Obviously, it seems like Agnifilo is the lead on this case, although Rico was certainly his one.
Rahmani floated another possibility. Rico may have learned something behind the scenes, something so serious or ethically troubling that he felt he couldn't continue defending Diddy. If true, that could mean the case is even more complicated than we thought.
And then it could be a conflict with one of the victims themselves. Maybe maybe Rico consulted with them or even represented them in such a way that he has to get off the case. Those are very difficult motions to win. So it's essentially a selective prosecution motion. And the example I always like to give is, let's say you're speeding and a police officer pulls you over. It's not a legal defense to say, well, all these other people were speeding, but you didn't pull them over and ticket them. You have to show that the prosecution is for a constitutionally prohibited reason, obviously race being one of them.
Or even with Rico gone, Diddy's legal team is still strong. He's got 5 lawyers backing him: Mark Agnifilo, Tenny Garagos, Alexander Shapiro, Jason Driscoll, and Anna Estevez. Rico made sure his departure wouldn't delay the case. He even cleared it with Agnifilo beforehand. The prosecution didn't object either, so the judge was expected to approve his withdrawal. Still, the timing raised a lot of eyebrows, especially since Rico left just days after Diddy's team tried to get one of the charges dropped. That charge was for transportation to engage in prostitution. the third count in Diddy's indictment. Diddy's lawyers claimed that charge should be tossed out because it comes from a law with a deeply racist past. The law in question is the Mann Act, originally called the White Slave Traffic Act, which makes it illegal to transport anyone across state or country lines for prostitution. Diddy's team argued that the law has been used unfairly, saying, "No white defendant has ever been hit with this charge in a similar case." But when asked if that argument could work in court, Ramani didn't seem convinced.
Look, I didn't turn him down because I don't like him or I don't believe in his case. I think he's got a very defensible case.
He broke down what he sees as the main issue.
To me, this whole case boils down to an issue of consent, right? And as far as I know, I don't know all the evidence, but it's an issue of consent, right? Did they consent or did they not? I mean, was a gun put to someone's head, or did they want to do it because they were getting all the perks associated with being part of a Diddy party and being one of Diddy's entourage, right? Did he buy him a house or cars and stuff? He didn't have to buy anyone a car or a house.
As this case unfolds, one big question remains. What made Anthony Rico, a highly respected attorney with decades of experience, suddenly walk away from defending one of the biggest names in music? Could it have something to do with a rumored audio recording played in court? People started whispering that Rico's exit might be connected to a piece of audio evidence. But here's the twist. The now infamous 2016 surveillance video of Diddy allegedly putting his hands on ex-girlfriend Cassie Ventura in a Los Angeles hotel, along with her calling for security, wasn't even played in court until May 2025. Months after Rico had already quit. That video stunned the courtroom when it was finally shown. But Rico had already been gone since February 2025. Rico had joined the legal team back in September 2024, right after Diddy was arrested on serious federal charges. He worked on the case for about 5 months, during which several key hearings took place. For example, in October 2024, the trial date was set for May 5, 2025, and the judge warned federal agents about leaks. In December 2024, prosecutors talked about evidence sharing, but no audio was mentioned. On February 3, 2025, Diddy missed court due to a hospital visit. And then just a few weeks later, Rico officially quit. On February 21st, the timing raised eyebrows, especially since it came right after Diddy's team tried to get one of the charges, the Mann Act violation, thrown out over racial bias claims. Some legal experts believe Rico may have disagreed with that strategy. Attorney Joe Tacopina, who was invited to join Diddy's defense team but declined, had some thoughts on what might have been going on.
My turning it down was because I had Rocky's trial coming up, and a host of other things. So it's not about, I don't think he's innocent or I don't like him or anything like that. It's not that at all. It was just timing for me. It really was more about timing.
Joe Tacopina explained what he believes was the core challenge of the case, and it's not what most people think.
That got taken way out of it. I do have a great relationship with Jay and Rock Nation. I represent a lot of them. I think that was, first of all, I know of no personal issue between Jay and Diddy. I have no personal knowledge of that. So someone, I think it was on the Breakfast Club, sort of extrapolated that, but that would have nothing to do with it. No one at Rock Nation ever told me not to represent him. So that, I think, was misconstrued and I'd probably taken out of context.
According to Tacopina, Diddy's entire legal defense was likely going to focus on one major claim: that all the interactions in question were consensual. He suggested the team might argue that the people accusing Diddy were more interested in money than justice. That seems to be exactly the direction Diddy's remaining lawyers took when the trial kicked off in May 2025. As for why Tacopina turned down the chance to represent Diddy, he said it was simply a scheduling conflict, not because he doubted Diddy's innocence.
Also testified that he witnessed Combs assault Cassie in their home and that he feared for his own life, but eventually befriended Cassie. Now, the person to testify before him was the hotel security guard who responded to the incident caught on surveillance video in that Los Angeles hotel back in 2016 when Diddy was caught on video assaulting Cassie. And he testified that Diddy threw a sack of money at him in their hotel room afterwards to keep quiet.
Tacopina also addressed the rumors that he stayed away from the case because of his close ties to Jay-Z and Rock Nation. especially considering Jay-Z. And Diddy have had a complicated history. While he didn't confirm whether that relationship played a role in his decision, it definitely added another layer of intrigue to this already high-profile legal drama.
The latest witness to take the stand today is a man named Daniel Phillips, and he was a male strip show manager. He would manage male strippers who would perform for things like bachelorette parties. But he said that he was paid to have sex with Cassie Ventura back in 2013 at a New York City hotel while Sean Diddy Combs allegedly sat in the corner, watched, and this morning his family entered the courthouse while leaving a black van. This includes his children, his sons, and also his twin daughters. His family has heard graphic allegations of the alleged sexual encounters, and his daughters walked out during that testimony.
While Joe Tacopina's decision to avoid representing Diddy seemed pretty straightforward, the real reason why Anthony Rico quit the defense team is still unclear. What we do know is that before he left, Rico spoke with Diddy's lead attorney, Mark Agnifilo, which shows there was at least some coordination behind the scenes. Since no official reason was given, people have come up with their own theories. Some think Rico might have had ethical concerns or didn't agree with how the defense was handling things. Others believe the stress of defending a celebrity in such a high-profile case, combined with multiple lawsuits and constant media attention, could have been too much. Another rumor is that Rico may have seen private evidence, possibly audio or video, that made him uncomfortable, but there's no proof of that. If it happened, it would have been in private, not in open court. There was also talk online about an audio leak involving Diddy and Meek Mill back in 2023, but that turned out to be fake and unrelated to this case. Still, Rico's sudden exit lit up social media. People on Reddit and X, Twitter, called it dramatic and suspicious. Some speculated it was due to a major discovery in the case or a fallout within the legal team. But again, no real evidence backs that. Meanwhile, Diddy's legal problems kept growing. He faced several civil lawsuits accusing him of sexual abuse, which he dismissed as money grabs. As the Coast trial kicked off in May 2025, the courtroom became a media circus. Celebrities, reporters, and curious spectators packed the building. The trial was expected to run 8 to 10 weeks, and Diddy's defense team leaned into a strategy claiming the star lived a consensual swinger lifestyle rather than committing any crimes. Prosecutors, on the other hand, argued this was a clear pattern of abuse and coercion. On May 12, 2025, the first day of testimony, the prosecution brought out their star witness, a former security guard who responded to the 2016 hotel incident, caught on video.
Phillips, the second witness of the day, said he was told by his boss that he was going to perform at a bachelorette party at the Gramercy Park Hotel, but when he arrived, he saw Cassie in red lingerie and a red wig. He testified she said that they would rub baby oil on each other and would see where things would go from there while her husband was there. Combs was allegedly in a corner in a white robe, concealing his face with a bandana.
That witness's testimony, along with the 2016 surveillance video, quickly became the centerpiece of the prosecution's case. The footage, which leaked in May 2024, shows Diddy grabbing Cassie Ventura in a hotel hallway, an incident he later apologized for publicly. Even though Diddy's team tried to keep the video out, the judge ruled that it could be used as evidence, saying it wouldn't unfairly harm the jury's opinion of him. The defense had argued that CNN tampered with the footage, but the court didn't buy it. As the trial moves forward, Rico's absence is still being talked about. Whether he quit over strategy issues, evidence, or something more personal, it's clear his departure was a major shakeup for Diddy's defense. Held at the Daniel Patrick Moynihan Courthouse in Manhattan, this has become one of the biggest celebrity trials in years. Legal experts and fans alike are watching every twist. The jury selection process started on May 5th, 2025 and was intense. Potential jurors had to answer detailed questions about what they'd seen in the media, personal experiences with sexual abuse, Views on police, hip-hop, and celebrity lifestyles by May 12th. The final jury was locked in 12 jurors, men and women, and 6 alternates, and the trial officially began. Diddy's new lead attorneys, including Mark Agnifilo, Mel, Tenny Garagos, and Brian Steele, stuck to the plan Rico helped shape. Their strategy focused on consent, arguing that the people accusing Diddy were willing participants who had something to gain by being associated with him. Fox 5's Michelle Ross, reporting from inside the courtroom, described the first day as intense, with jaw-dropping testimony and a serious atmosphere.
It's going to be interesting because, again, you have someone who is going to be very sympathetic. She's a pregnant woman. She is a victim, admittedly, at least of physical violence. The defense is going to argue that she was not sexually assaulted. But I think you have to be careful because if you're very aggressive, and obviously you want to do a good job for your client, if you're a defense lawyer, you can really turn off the juror.
That brings up one of the toughest jobs for the defense: cross-examining witnesses like Cassie Ventura, who is currently pregnant, without alienating the jury. Romani explained that the defense has to walk a fine line, asking tough questions without coming off as harsh or insensitive.
I think they're going to talk about some of the things that came up in opening statement, right? The jealousy, the fact that she stayed in this relationship for more than a decade. I mean, these are all the questions that the jurors are going to have. That's why the prosecution is going to try to bring in an expert witness that's going to talk about the psychology of an abuse victim, why someone might stay in a relationship, even though they're being physically and sexually abused.
The main question in this trial revolves around force, fraud, or coercion, elements needed to prove sex trafficking, Ramani explained.
And, everyone's talking about the baby oil, and it came up during Garagos' opening statement. She said there's nothing illegal about, having a lot of baby oil. But baby oil is important to the allegations in the case because you saw Philip come and testify that Combs wanted Cassie covered in baby oil when he was filming them having sex. He would assault her and Philip would become uncomfortable and grab her by the hairs.
He continued.
So we're really seeing what the government is saying with respect to the force element. Yeah, this case isn't about baby oil, but it's about Combs's manipulation and forcing Cassie Ventura to have sex under his terms, which included a lot of baby oil, allegedly.
These freak-offs, central to both the prosecution and defense narratives, have been described very directly by each side. The prosecution has presented them as exploitative scenarios where victims were coerced, often under the influence of drugs like ecstasy, cocaine, and GHB. In contrast, the defense has portrayed them as consensual adult activities that, while unconventional, weren't criminal. One notable development in the case was Diddy reportedly turning down a plea deal. On May 1st, 2025, it was reported that Diddy had rejected a plea offer from prosecutors, choosing instead to go to trial. While the details of this offer weren't disclosed, the decision to reject it suggests condensed in the defense's case.
The heart of this trial comes down to proving whether there was force, fraud, or coercion, the key legal elements in any sex trafficking case, according to Roman.
I do. This is a case that's going to be aggressive. It's going to be about cross-examination. And I think Cassie may take the stand as early as tomorrow. And there are going to be fireworks. I think one important takeaway, too, is we didn't know if victim number 3 would show up or testify. At least in their opening statement, the prosecution talked about a victim 3. So, obviously, if you're trying this case, you want more victims to tell the same story. So if indeed victim 3 shows up, I think that helps the government's case.
Those so-called freak-offs are at the center of both sides' arguments. The prosecution says they were abusive, drug-fueled situations with ecstasy, cocaine, and GHB often involved, designed to control and exploit women. The defense says they were consensual, adult activities, maybe unusual, but not criminal. One big twist in the case. On May 1st, 2025, Diddy reportedly turned down a plea deal. No one knows exactly what the offer was, but it shows he's either confident in his defense or completely unwilling to admit to any wrongdoing. Beyond the criminal trial, Diddy is dealing with a massive wave of civil lawsuits, over 63 and counting. These claims stretch all the way back to the 1970s and go up to 2023, with allegations ranging from sexual assault to harassment. Even though these civil cases are separate, They've definitely added pressure and brought even more attention to the trial. Legal expert Romani addressed the growing number of accusers and what that means for the case.
Reckoning for the music industry?
Oh, it needs to be. And if it wasn't, I hope my presence starts that.
For Diddy personally,
Teen Romani explained that in a case like this, where so much depends on credibility, having multiple women tell similar stories is a big deal. It helps the prosecution show a pattern of behavior suggesting that Diddy wasn't just acting on impulse, but running a deliberate operation that exploited women. But this case isn't just about Diddy. It's also been described as a reckoning for the music industry, finally pulling back the curtain on abuse and power games that have been whispered about for years. When asked if this trial might finally force some change, Jaguar Wright, a longtime supporter of the accusers, said yes. This could be the moment that breaks.
P. Diddy be wanting the body, and you gotta tell him no.
Monique did not back either when she backed it up.
Everything Cat Williams sat here and said,
Right.
we all know it to be the truth.
For Diddy, the stakes couldn't be higher. If he's convicted on all charges, he's looking at a minimum of 15 years in prison, and possibly even life. The charges include racketeering conspiracy, sex trafficking, and transporting people for prostitution, each carrying serious time. While the spotlight is mostly on the courtroom drama, the mystery around attorney Anthony Rico's sudden exit still lingers. Whether he left due to ethical concerns, legal disagreements, or something behind the scenes, we still don't know. What is clear is that Diddy's legal team kept pushing forward without him, sticking to their main argument. Everything was consensual. Rico had joined the team in September 2024 and officially stepped down on February 21, 2025. During his 5 months, he helped shape the early strategy and reviewed evidence, so his departure likely led to some adjustments. But the core argument around consent stayed the same. After Rico left, Brian Steele, best known for defending Young Thug, joined the team, bringing serious courtroom experience. So, even without Rico, Diddy's lawyers remain a seasoned group, used to high-profile battles. Still, the reason behind Rico's sudden exit may never come out. In his motion to withdraw, he cited attorney-client privilege, which means the real reason will likely stay private. Meanwhile, the trial keeps rolling, with new twists, witnesses, and evidence shaping what could be the most important legal battle of Diddy's life.
Absolutely not.
Why? What evidence do you have?
She was in the best of health. We just saw each other prior to her passing.
Remember when Cat Williams blew up the internet with those wild claims? Well, Monique didn't hold back either. She came out swinging, backing Cat up in public and co-signing some of the things he said.
I believe this to be the case, yes. Absolutely.
Wow.
My first time saying it.
Are you concerned that he still has power outside of incarceration?
Remember, I'm the only one who spoke up, and I'm the only one left alive.
These are some serious accusations, and it doesn't end there. Gene Deal, Diddy's former bodyguard, has also raised eyebrows about Kim Porter's death. In a recent interview, Deal claimed that her passing wasn't properly investigated and said there were multiple red flags surrounding the situation. He believes something just doesn't add up. D.
You got to realize, man, Kim's death wasn't even investigated, bro. Her death wasn't even investigated. And it should have been a proper investigation so all the family members can feel like that there was no foul play in her death.
One of the most bizarre and unsettling claims Gene Deal made was about Kim Porter's casket. According to Deal, there was something off about the way the funeral was handled and how the casket looked. He didn't go into all the details, but he strongly suggested that what the public saw may not have told the full story.
Some people even said that her casket was ordered 2 months before she died. I don't believe that, man. I swear. I'm not no conspiracy theorist or none of this. But I heard, did you hear something like that, man? That her casting, how you order a gold casting 2 months before somebody died, man?
Now let's be clear, the official autopsy of Kim Porter did show she had been battling flu-like symptoms in the days before her death. She had a 102-degree fever, was taking antibiotics, and there was no sign of foul play. The coroner ruled it a natural death, and Porter's own children have publicly shut down the conspiracy theories. They've called them hurtful and untrue, asking people to respect their mother's memory and the pain her loss caused the family. Their response lines up with the official cause, but that hasn't stopped speculation, especially after Monique stepped into the spotlight. You know Monique, the Oscar-winning comedian known for speaking her mind, no matter how powerful the person on the other side. She's clashed with some of the biggest names in Hollywood, including Tyler Perry and Oprah, and now she's turned her attention toward Diddy in April 2024, during a comedy show in Louisville, Kentucky. Monique cracked some bold jokes about T.D. Jakes and Tyler Perry, connecting them to Diddy's growing legal scandal. This wasn't just a random jab. T.D. Jakes was actually named in a lawsuit filed in February 2024 by Rodney Lil Rod Jones, who claimed he had evidence of Diddy trying to use his connection to Jakes to clean up his image after Cassie Ventura's lawsuit dropped. And Monique's been a strong supporter of Cat Williams, who's also been calling Diddy out for years. Back in January 2024, Cat went viral during his Club Shay Shay interview when he predicted that in 2024, all these so-called deviants would finally face judgment. It don't matter if it's Diddy or T.D. Jake, she said. Shortly after, Monique showed up on the same podcast tomorrow and didn't hold back. That interview, Monique defended Cat Williams and praised him for being one of the few people in the industry brave enough to speak the truth. Afterwards, she joined him on his Dear Dark Matters stand-up tour, calling Cat her twin brother. Together, they've become a duo of truth-tellers, two outspoken comics who refuse to stay silent no matter how powerful the people they're calling out. And during one of her live shows, Monique made it crystal clear just how much she respects Williams and the mission they're on together.
And I called him up, and I said, hey, I just got a call to let you know how proud I am of your standing the way you fucking standing. I'm so proud of your goddamn. I don't even know what to tell you. I just want to hug your little.
Monique's close bond with Cat Williams and her bold comments about Diddy has made some people wonder, has she been threatened for speaking out? Now, there's no direct evidence that Diddy ever threatened Monique, especially over the Kim Porter allegations. But the timing of her comments, along with her alliance with Williams, who's been warning about Diddy for years, has definitely put her in a potentially risky position. Let's be real. Diddy and Kim Porter had a complicated relationship. They were together on and off from 1994 to 2007, and while they appeared to be strong co-parents, what happened behind closed doors may have been much darker. In a 2025 docuseries called The Fall of Diddy, former Vibe editor-in-chief, Danielle Smith, gave a first-hand account of how Diddy allegedly treated Porter. She claimed he was awful and very mean. One story she told involved a nightclub incident. Porter was out with friends, and Diddy showed up, berated her in public, told her she should be home, and even dumped her purse out in front of everyone. Other outlets backed this up. In October 2024, Hindustan Times quoted an insider who said Diddy was controlling, and that there were instances of domestic abuse during his 13-year relationship with Porter. Mara also published a piece linking these claims to the abuse Cassie Ventura alleged in her 2023 lawsuit. To be clear, Diddy has denied all these allegations. His legal team called Smith's claims pure fiction. And as of May 13th, 2025, there have been no legal convictions tied to these specific abuse claims. But things got even messier in September 2024, when a book popped up on Amazon called Kim's Lost Words, A Journey for Justice from the Other Side. The 60-page memoir, allegedly based on Porter's diary, made some shocking claims: physical abuse, sexual misconduct, and an open relationship with Diddy. But the book's authenticity? Highly suspect. Porter's children, Quincy, Christian, Jesse, and Delilah, released a public statement on September 25, 2024, calling the memoir completely fake. They said their mother never wrote anything like that and accused the author of exploiting their family's pain. The book was pulled from Amazon a week later. Diddy's lawyer, Erica Wolf, slammed it as a shameless attempt to profit from tragedy. Still, the damage was done. Even though the memoir was fake, its short time online only fueled more speculation about Diddy and Porter's relationship, and guess who kept that conversation alive? Al B. Sure Kim Porter's ex, who's been raising red flags for years. In his most recent interview, he dropped a chilling claim. Porter had warned him about Diddy.
And thank goodness to my ex, the wonderful Kim Porter, the late Kim Porter, who, kind of warned me all along the way to, just kind of watch your back, so on and so forth. And I didn't understand
because
why.
of Diddy.
And Al B. sure isn't the only one asking hard questions. Gene Deal, Diddy's former bodyguard, has also been raising concerns about how Kim Porter's death was handled. Deal specifically questioned why detectives never physically examined Porter's body themselves. He felt there were red flags that were ignored, and that something didn't add up in the investigation.
How is it that, and this is her say, that the detectives did not even view the body in the bed where she died at? That the coroner them had already removed her, pronounced her dead, and told the detectives them that it was no foul play. And if that is true, as I've heard it, and we've read certain things on the internet about it, that case need to be reopened.
One odd detail Deal pointed out: Porter allegedly got a massage shortly before she died, even though she was supposedly battling pneumonia. That doesn't line up, he argued, and it's one of several reasons he believes her death needs a second look.
We know that Kim, and it's in the this is in the documentation. Shout out to Paperwork. At the Paperwork part, I gotta shout him out, man, because he looked in the paperwork and it said Kim received a massage for about an hour when she's supposed to have full-blown pneumonia. Who gives somebody a massage when they got pneumonia? And do we know whether she used that baby oil or not for that massage? It makes you say, that's a big
The autopsy report confirmed that Kim Porter received a massage on November 14, 2018, the day before she died. It also noted her declining health, including flu-like symptoms for about 4 days, with a fever of 102 degrees. Medical tests for flu and strep throat came back negative, but she was prescribed antibiotics and received IV fluids with vitamins. What makes this even more interesting is how it ties into Diddy's current legal troubles. On September 16, 2024, Diddy was arrested on charges of sex trafficking and racketeering. He's now being held at Brooklyn's Metropolitan Detention Center, awaiting a trial that started May 12, 2025. These charges have reignited public and media attention on Diddy's past relationships, including with Porter. A 2023 lawsuit filed by Cassie Ventura accused Diddy of sexual abuse and misconduct, stirring speculation about whether Porter suffered similar treatment. While the Ventura case settled out of court, it raised many questions about Porter's experiences. So why would Diddy feel threatened by Monique speaking out about Kim Porter? Monique is known for being outspoken and unafraid to challenge powerful entertainment figures. Her support of Cat Williams, who's been predicting Diddy's downfall for years, gives her a platform to amplify these allegations to a wider audience. But there's more. There's an intriguing connection between Monique and another figure in this saga, Monique Bunn, a hip-hop photographer with her own history involving Diddy. According to Rolling Stone, Monique Bunn, who was close to Notorious B.I.G., and other bad boy artists, sued Diddy in 2000 for withholding Biggie photos, and won. She later claimed her career opportunities shrank after Diddy allegedly pressured The Fader magazine to pull ads if they worked with her, a clear case of blackballing. Although Monique and Monique Bunn are different people, the similarity in names and their conflicts with Diddy create an interesting parallel. Could Monique's support of Cat Williams and her jokes about T.D. Jake, who was mentioned in a lawsuit against Diddy, have put her on Diddy's radar? There's another angle to consider. Monique has long said she's been blackballed in Hollywood since winning her Oscar for Precious in 2009. She's blamed big industry names like T24 on the Club Shay Shay podcast. Monique even claimed to have a recording of Perry confessing to spreading rumors that she was difficult to work with. Her own experience of being silenced and blackballed by powerful figures could make her especially sensitive to the kind of control and intimidation allegedly used by Diddy's camp. And because Monique has a strong platform and isn't afraid to speak truth to power, she could be seen as a real threat to Diddy's fragile public image. Here's where things get even more intense. While there's no direct proof Diddy threatened Monique specifically over the Kim Porter allegations, court filings from November 2024 reveal Diddy tried to influence witnesses and control the narrative from behind bars. Federal prosecutors accused him of breaking Metropolitan Detention Center rules by using other inmates' phone accounts to make unauthorized calls, sometimes arranging three-way calls to reach people outside his approved contacts, potentially witnesses or victims. They also allege Diddy orchestrated social media campaigns from jail to sway public opinion and influence the jury pool, describing it as a relentless attempt to obstruct justice. Prosecutors say Diddy has an uncanny ability to get employees, family members, and inmates to do his bidding. If Diddy is willing to go to such lengths from behind bars, it's not hard to imagine he might view Monique's outspoken support of Cat Williams as a threat. Now let's talk about power in the entertainment world. Power isn't just money or fame, it's influence, connections, and the ability to make or break careers. For decades, Sean Diddy Combs has been one of the most powerful figures in hip-hop and beyond. But power can be abused. If the allegations are true, Diddy has used his position to exploit, manipulate, and silence others. With over 63 civil lawsuits and federal criminal charges against him, a disturbing pattern emerges. Many lawsuits include claims of drugging and sexual assault at his famous parties, like the White Party in the Hamptons. Some accusers say they were filmed without consent and threatened into silence. For example, an October 14, 2024 lawsuit claimed a 16-year-old was assaulted in 1998. What does all this have to do with Monique? To understand that, you need to know Monique's own history of challenging powerful entertainment figures. After winning her Oscar for Precious in 2009, Monique says she was blackballed for refusing to do unpaid promotional work, especially at the Cannes Film Festival. In a 2023 Vanity Fair interview, she said, "I'm doing a talk show, I'm doing a comedy tour, I have a husband and babies, I have downtime, and I'm going to take advantage of it. I'm not obligated to go anywhere, I've done my part." Her refusal caused friction with the film's producers, Tyler Perry and Oprah Winfrey, who reportedly labeled her difficult to work with. Monique claims this seriously limited her career opportunities. In 2018, she released a secretly recorded conversation with Tyler Perry admitting the difficult label was unfair and that she should have been paid for overseas promotion of Precious. Perry said, This is Tyler Perry talking. I'm going to find out what money is coming in from Precious and send that to you. But Monique says she never got that payment. Monique's willingness to expose powerful figures, even at the cost of her own career, makes her a potential threat to someone like Diddy, who's allegedly gone to great lengths to silence critics. But the connection runs deeper. Her alliance with Cat Williams, who has openly predicted Diddy's downfall for years. After Diddy's arrest in September 2024, Williams joked about federal raids seizing 10,000 bottles of baby oil from Diddy's homes, sarcastically noting Costco doesn't sell baby oil in bulk. He implied drugs were involved in Diddy's infamous parties. In a January 2024 Club Shay Shay interview, Williams made a prophetic statement. All these big deviants are catching hell in 2024. It don't matter if you're Diddy or whoever. TD Jake, all lies will be exposed. This comment, made before Diddy's legal troubles became public, was later highlighted by fans and media as a warning. Williams also said he turned down $50 million 4 times, explaining, "Pity be, or wanting to party and you've got to tell him no, I did." This suggested Diddy's parties involved morally compromising activities. After Diddy's arrest, Williams posted an AI-generated clip on Instagram, superimposing Diddy's face onto a scene from New Jack City, where a character snitches in court, captioning it, "Diddy about to snitch on everybody." Monique's support for Williams and joining his comedy tour sends a clear message. She stands with someone calling out Diddy for years. When she appeared on the Club Shay Shay podcast in February 2024, Monique defended Williams.
Monique is aligning herself with Williams as a truth teller, someone who isn't afraid to speak up against powerful figures in the entertainment industry. And in doing so, she's potentially putting herself in the line of fire. But even more concerning is the fact that Monique's jokes have explicitly connected TD Jakes to Diddy. Remember, TD Jakes was mentioned in a lawsuit filed against Diddy by Rodney Lil Rod Jones in February.
30 Monique is clearly teaming up with Cat Williams, 2 outspoken truth-tellers unafraid to call out Hollywood's powerful figures. But that TD Jake to Diddy. Remember, TD Jake's name popped up in a February 2024 lawsuit against Diddy and his associates, accusing them of involvement in a sex trafficking ring and sexual misconduct. Although Jake isn't a defendant, just being connected raised a lot of eyebrows. During a comedy show in April 20 by TD Jake. In that sermon, Jake talked about coming out of the closet and being swallowed up with a spiritual twist. Monique took those words out of context, turning them into sexually charged jokes tied to the Diddy scandal. Given Diddy's history of trying to control the narrative and silence critics, it's easy to see how Monique's comments and her friendship with Williams could have put her on Diddy's radar. Here's the scary part. Federal prosecutors say Diddy has been making unauthorized phone calls from jail, using other inmates' phones and 3-way calls to reach associates. Outside, possibly to influence witnesses and control his empire from behind bars. If true, that means Diddy could still be exerting power and trying to intimidate people like Monique, even while locked up. Now, no one has confirmed Monique has been directly threatened, but given the risks, it's fair to be concerned. This story is still unfolding, and we'll have to watch closely. What's clear is, Monique has never been afraid to speak her mind, even when it cost her career. Cat Williams is even more blunt in his criticism of Diddy. Oh, and by the way, Alb Shore, the R&B singer raising questions about Kim Porter's death, said in a recent interview that he's beefed up his security because he worries about his safety.
You heard about Albie Shore increasing his security?
You know, I spoke to Al a couple of times, and he texted me a couple of times too. I think knowing the history of them two, if he did increase his security, he have every right to. And I believe that Al knows that Puff has some powerful people, or has some powerful people around him, and some people doing some things for him that could danger his life.
Gene Deal, Diddy's former bodyguard, has publicly shown support for Alb Shore.
I don't think nobody would be paying for some security if they didn't think their life was in danger. So I could see Al doing that. I understand why Al is doing that.
Alb Shore feels the need for extra protection because of what he said about Diddy and Kim Porter. It's fair to wonder if Monique faces similar dangers due to her outspokenness. Let's take a step back and look at the bigger picture. This whole situation exposes how power works in the entertainment world. Monique has been fighting against what she calls unfair treatment by the industry's powerful players for years. She believes Hollywood often silences voices like hers, especially when those voices speak uncomfortable truths. During her Club Shay Shay podcast appearance, Monique made a powerful statement about the importance of speaking truth to power. Telling the truth can stop harm from happening to others. That's why she's willing to risk potential threats from someone like Diddy. For her, staying silent only lets wrongdoing continue. She's also been critical of what she calls a culture of fear and silence within the Black entertainment community. On the Club Shay Shay podcast, she said, "Of fear and silence is exactly what lets powerful figures like Diddy allegedly get away with abuse for so long." With over 63 lawsuits against him, many accusing sexual assault and abuse, it paints a picture of a pattern protected by a system that values power over the vulnerable. This is where Monique's story connects to the bigger Diddy scandal. Both involve powerful people using their influence, often chooses connections and influence over truth and justice. Now, as Diddy's federal trial unfolds, it began on May 12, 2025, the truth about these allegations may finally come out. This trial could send Diddy to prison for life if he's convicted. The jury's already been picked, and opening statements showed the prosecution painting Diddy as a predator using fame and violence. The defense counters saying his lifestyle was consensual swinger behavior. Witnesses have testified, including an LAPD officer and a male review manager, about incidents like the 2016 assault on Cassie Ventura. More witnesses are expected in the coming weeks. As the trial continues, we may learn the full story and whether people like Monique truly face threats. But no matter what happens, this trial shines a light on the deep issues of power, silence, and accountability in entertainment. Monique's courage in speaking out, even with risks, shows why it's so important to challenge a system that protects the powerful at the expense of the vulnerable. In a virtual reality interview with Tiana Taylor on Bumble's Love to See show, Diddy opened up about losing Kim Porter and how it affected him.
Only way you kind of know how important it is. So all the heartache that anybody's ever been through, all of the loss that people have gone through, that's the thing that really makes you appreciate the times that you actually felt that and actually received that love. When you lose that unconditional love, that's the one that has you respect. Put some respect on love's name.
There's some real irony in Diddy's words, given the serious allegations about how he treated Kim Porter during their relationship. If those allegations are true, it suggests a man who didn't fully value what he had until it was gone, and maybe even caused some of that pain himself. And that brings us back to Monique. By standing up to powerful figures like Diddy, she's fighting for a world where love and respect aren't just empty words for interviews, but real principles, especially for those with power and influence. So, is Monique at risk of threats from Diddy because of her comments and support? For Cat Williams, based on what we know, it's definitely possible. But one thing is clear. Monique isn't going to be silenced, no matter the risks. As she said on the Club Shay Shay podcast, that challenges the power structures that have allowed people like Diddy to act without consequences for so long. Whether or not Monique has received direct threats, her very presence as a bold, truth-telling voice threatens a system that depends on fear and silence to stay in control. As Diddy's trial continues and more facts emerge, we'll be watching closely to see what unfolds. One thing is certain: the era of powerful figures getting away with impunity in entertainment may be ending, thanks in part to brave voices like Monique and Cat Williams who refused to be silenced.